This video looks at the elderly, particularly those in care homes, and this is an article from the paper. This is a heading on the May the 13th from the Daily Mail. And it makes for disturbing reading. It's been a major worry if you're elderly. And whilst I was watching a video the other day, some guy mentioned DALYs, and on further investigation I came across QALYs and some for sort of cost analysis, which all struck me as a little bit worrying. So this video is about that. It's about the elderly, QALYs and DALYs. This video looks at the elderly, QALYs and DALYs. Never heard of them? Well, just bear with me. Years ago, there was a move away from hierarchical, dictatorial management structures, sort of top-down structures, to much more broad structures with fewer levels. And as part of this, teams became important. It was felt that people who cooperated in a team were far more successful than if they worked individually. And the buzzword was synergy. And businesses appeared offering team building courses, which included team building games. Don't know if you've got any memories of those. They were all based on similar ideas. This is just one example which was popular. Your yacht is sinking fast. You're given the list of items on the yacht, and you have to prioritise what to take onto your lifeboat before the yacht sinks. Was one of them. And a second game was you're in charge of a lifeboat. It only holds 10 people, but there are 15 people with differing circumstances waiting to get on it. I mean, who do you leave behind? This second game was the most contentious, and it provoked most conflict as team members' sort of prejudices came to the surface. I mean, at the risk of being controversial, just suppose the 15 were these here: Roman Catholic priest, 42 years, dependent, aged, mother, no brother or sisters. And number 2 was a hospital cancer specialist with 63 years old, but he's an alcoholic. Number 3, the cancer specialist's wife, retired nurse, 62 years old, 3 children, 5 grandchildren, one of whom is severely and mentally and physically disabled, and she's his carer during the day. Number 4, a young woman who's a croupier on the ship, 24 years old, no children, unmarried, but very positive attitude. Number 5, an Afro-American student studying environmental science at university. He's an only child and he's 20 years old. Number 6, an entrepreneur, wealthy, supports many charities in underdeveloped countries, who's 76 years old. Number 7, a member of parliament, 38-year-old woman who is a champion of women's rights and who has 2 young children. Number 8, a former soldier, 48 years old, wounded in Afghanistan, suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder but works with disabled former servicemen. Number 9, an unemployed single mother, 2 children below school age. She does escort work to provide extra for her children. Number 10 is a young stowaway who has appeared, 16 years old, very intelligent but illiterate, never been educated. He's fleeing from a war zone. His family have all been killed in the war, and he's hoping to get to the United Kingdom to study. Number 11, you. You're the crew member in charge of the lifeboat. You're 29, you're a qualified navigator, you're a heavy smoker, you're ill-tempered, and you have no dependents. Number 12, a top scientist, a specialist in developing vaccines, also no dependents, 41 years of age. Number 13, an IT expert working for a defence company developing systems to counteract weapons coming from space. 45 years old, married, 2 teenage children, wife in a wheelchair following a road accident. Number 14, an obese, diabetic, divorced father of 6 children whom he supports. They're under 16 years of age, and he's a taxi driver. And number 15, a world-renowned pianist, 52 years of age, no dependents, married, with excellent interpersonal skills, and is popular. Now, when the lists were drawn up, as you can imagine, there was a lot of divergence. In fact, a lot of lost tempers. Now you might ask, what has this got to do with the corona pandemic? Now, whenever there are limited resources, choices have to be made. And as you can see from the exercise above, it's unlikely a consensus could be reached. In a top-down hierarchical management system, the choice, they could quite simply dictate it. The National Health Service has limited resources, and difficult decisions often have to be taken involving value for money, such as prescribing a drug treatment which may cost 10,000 quid a month. The other issue arose in the early days of the pandemic, when it was forecast by some there would be insufficient intensity care beds to meet the initial surge of patients. Who would decide who was admitted and who wasn't? To overcome any prejudices by different senior managers and clinicians, it would seem that there are systems in place to provide a score for each patient based on a questionnaire, EQ5D-L, and you can look that up on the internet. These first came to my attention when listening to Professor Michael Levitt, a Nobel Prize winner from Stanford School of Medicine, being interviewed on Lockdown TV on YouTube. And this is what he said, and I quote, "I'm getting into sensitive territory here. Economists have a simple way of looking at death. They don't count people. They come to the conclusion that if you are 20 and you die, that is a greater loss than if you are 85 and you die. And it's a hard issue. Are we valuing the potential future life of the 20-year-old? Are we valuing the loss of a more senior person by what's called DALYs, disability adjusted life years?" I'd never heard of these, and they hadn't been mentioned in any of the debates about the corona pandemic. No media journalist has asked about them. Do they know they exist? Another measure which came up was QALY, Quality Adjusted Life Year, and the United Kingdom's National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, NICE, uses QALYs. And this is their definition. A measure of the state of health of a person or group in which the benefits in terms of length of life are adjusted to reflect the quality of life. And 1 QALY is equivalent to 1 year of life in perfect health. And it goes on to say, QALYs are calculated by estimating the years of life remaining for a patient following a particular treatment or intervention, and weighting each year with a quality of life score on a 0 to 1 scale. It's often measured in terms of the person's ability to carry out the activities of daily life and freedom from pain and mental disturbance. That's a worrying statement. Then another measure appeared, cost-utility analysis. I mean, these are analytical techniques used for economic evaluation in healthcare. Cost-benefit analysis, cost-effectiveness analysis, and cost-consequences analysis are designed to compare alternative courses of action in terms of costs and outcomes. That's another worrying statement. It follows that younger, healthier people have more QALYs than older or sicker people. And worryingly, it also implies there's a sort of pecking order when it comes to medical interventions when there are limited resources. Now, given what's happening in care homes, where inmates or residents, probably a better word, have few QALYs, especially early in the pandemic when coronavirus first appeared, causing mayhem, were QALYs part of the equation when deciding who would be given priority treatment or even admitted to hospital? I mean, what criteria are included in this equation? Age, mental state, obesity, ethnicity, mobility stroke fitness, smoking, drug or alcohol abuse, ongoing medical conditions, socio-economic class, marital status, dependence, what contribution they make to society, etc. It would be very interesting to know, especially as you get older. I mean, maybe someone will pick up on this. So if you're elderly, like me, is there a QALY score somewhere tucked away in your records? And if there is, and there is a limit on certain resources within the NHS, how will that affect the treatment, if any, that you're going to get? Anyway, on that note, cheerio.